Hello everybody, and welcome back to This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres. We're gonna get started with the news, and of course there are two really big stories this week. The first is Ultimate Masters, which, despite what I thought last week, is actually going to be a regular-ish Master set that will be released on Magic Online. It'll be out on December 7th, and it's going to have an MSRP of just $6.99 a pack. Now, I'm usually the president and the CEO of the Don't Draft Master Sets Online Club, but that's with sets like Masters 25, which also retailed for $6.99 a pack. Despite the fact that it had, 3 cards maybe that you'd be happy to open. But Ultimate Masters is actually different. As I'm sure you've heard by now, the paper MSRP is all the way up to $14 a pack on this one, and that's in part because the set is really good and chock full of modern staples, and partially because of the Ultimate Box Toppers. Granted, on Magic Online, you're not going to get those Ultimate Box Toppers unless you're lucky enough to open one in a treasure chest, but that doesn't mean you can't take advantage of the fact that the price hasn't gone up yet, but the quality of the set absolutely did. So even if you never decide to draft any Ultimate Masters, even if you don't touch the packs, I'm convinced that enough people will to cause the price of those staples to come down in price. So you will see an impact if you're a modern player on Magic Online. You don't even have to engage with the set at all. And then, of course, we have the Pro Tour. Yeah, it's been kind of weak here in the world of Magic. So the big headline, of course, coming out of Tour Guilds of Ravnica was Boros Aggro, a deck that somehow managed to get 6 people into the top 8, including all of the quarterfinalists. So it was just sort of History of Benalia versus History of Benalia for a long time there. But this is not another Goblin Chain Whirler situation. I don't expect Boros Aggro to continue to dominate Standard the way that Mono Red dominated all summer long. If you actually take a look at the decks that did well in Standard, you can see that there's plenty of Golgari Midrange, and Is It Drakes, and Selesnya, and Jeskai, all these decks that just missed out either by a couple of points or even in many cases on tiebreakers. So this is going to remain a very diverse format going forward. It's not going to just be the Boros Aggro show. Let's move on to Gaining Ground, where in Standard it should be pretty obvious for anyone who watched the Pro Tour this weekend. That's right, it is History of Benalia, which gained about 7 tickets this week, jumping from 12 up to 19. And I'm recording this only a few minutes after the end of the Pro Tour Top 8, so, there's really a good chance that this card jumped another 4 or 5 tickets overnight. It was that good on Sunday. So, yeah, History of Benalia looked consistently like the best card in Standard all weekend, and it's also the backbone of Boros Aggro, which is a fairly budget deck other than History of Benalia. A Pro Tour winning deck that's kind of a budget option? Yeah, the recipe is definitely there for this card to gain some value going forward. But these gains are likely to be fast and furious before History of Benalia starts slowly dropping off, maybe even as soon as later this week. And that's because, well, that's what always happens after a Standard Pro Tour. The Standard Index goes up, people get excited, we now know what decks are good, people are buying cards, they've just seen their heroes play on camera all weekend, and then the Standard market starts to slowly drop and drop and drop and drop, and that's just what happens. And History of Benalia is not going to buck that trend, but I don't expect it to tank. If it does start to drop off, it'll be a slow drop because Boros Aggro is a legitimate deck. And while I don't think it is going to dominate Standard the way that Mono Red did last year, it is definitely going to remain in the format's top tier going forward. Let's move on to Modern, where the biggest gainer of the week was Gemstone Mine, gaining about 4 tickets from 16 up to 20. But we covered Gemstone Mine in last week's Sneak of the Week, so I'd like to actually spend some time talking about a slightly more exciting development, because I'm starting to see some of these depressed Modern staples finally starting to rebound. It's cards like Collected Company, and Mox Opal, and Inkmoth Nexus, and they're all up between 2 or 3 tickets this week, which, granted, it doesn't seem like a lot, and it really isn't a lot, but this is the start, I think, of the Modern rebound. So if there are any Modern staples you've been holding off on buying until the bottom of the market, well, I think we might have actually found it. Let's move on to our biggest loser, where in Standard we have a pretty big ticket card to talk about this week. It was Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, dropping 8 full tickets from 35 down to 27. And by and large, that was because Tour Guilds of Ravnica was not very friendly to control decks. They all had below average conversion percentages, and Jeskai Control had the worst conversion percentage of any of the tier 1 decks. It just didn't do all that well in Atlanta. Now, control strategies will rebound, but right now the problem is they have to deal with a very diverse set of aggro decks as well as a rapidly changing metagame. And those are just very poor conditions for control decks to emerge because control decks kind of need to know what they're dealing with before the game if they're gonna win. So I'm not sure I'd like to be holding to fairies right now as well as other control staples. I think short term these cards are going to be heading down. Let's move on to Modern, where our biggest loser was Tarmogoyf, dropping 5 tickets from 19 down to 14, which I'm pretty sure is actually the lowest price for the Venerable Lurgoyf since, I don't know, the Future Sight pre-release, maybe? So there's actually a good reason for this, which is that Tarmogoyf is in Ultimate Masters, and all the Ultimate Masters staples actually dropped a bit this week, most of them between 2 and 5 tickets, and I expect those numbers to continue to drop over the next couple of weeks. So while I'm seeing some signs of a rebound in the non-Ultimate Masters Modern staples, the cards from that set are going to continue to lose value. I wouldn't touch those yet, not for at least a month. Let's move on to our Sneak of the Week, where this week it is Croc Clan Ironworks, one of those cards where there's a pretty big price difference between Paper Magic and MTGO. In Paper Magic, the Ironworks is $15 or $16. Online, it's just about 2 tickets right now, and that's up from 1 ticket a week ago. Now, this card has actually been up to the 5 or 6 ticket mark several different times in 2018. It just surges in price whenever the deck does well, and right now it looks poised to make another run back up to that 5 or 6 ticket mark. So it's not going to be a major gain, but it could double or triple in price from current retail, and that's a nice quick flip for some of you if you want to go in now. As always, let's end the week by taking a look at the MTGOTraders sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us a great idea of which cards are selling the best, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, it's really hard to find too many changes from last week. Lightning Bolt has started to do a bit better, but beyond that, it's the same smattering of standard staples and Guilds of Ravnica Shocklands. And I still expect these Shocklands to be solid buys, especially when you look at the prices 6 or 8 months from now and we've all started drafting, but we still need the cards for standard decks, but you still have plenty of time to make this buy if you've been holding off. In terms of overall sales by price, it actually is starting to look like Modern is making a bit of a comeback. Arclight Phoenix is still the #1 best-selling card, and History of Benalia, of course, has joined that top 5. But we have 2 Modern cards here as well. We've got Mox Opal and Surgical Extraction in that top 5, where we had 0 last week. So is this just a blip in the radar, or is the Modern market finally starting to rebound? Well, it's too early to say, but I am starting to get hopeful. And that's all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. I'm Chaz Andres. I will see you next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more awesome MTG content just like this. And make sure to tap the bell icon to be notified whenever a video is made live. If you want to keep watching content, here are 2 more videos for you. This video and many others are sponsored by MTGOTraders and Cape Fear Games. Buy and sell digital singles to build your online collection today with MTGOTraders, and get your paper singles, accessories, and much more from Cape Fear Games. Whatever your Magic needs, both places have you covered.